Barbie was one of the most anticipated and is now one of the most talked about films of 2023 and probably will be one of the most talked about films of this entire decade. And viewers have apparently been loving it. Over on Letterboxd, nearly 500,000 people giving it a 5-star review. And on IMDb, it's getting a 7.4 out of 10, which feels a little bit more accurate. And then Rotten Tomatoes giving it a certified fresh 88% rating. And as we'll get into, I disagree with basically all of that, but this isn't another video that's going to talk about the political undertones of this film. I'm not going to talk about patriarchy or matriarchy or gender or identity or any of that. No, I'm going to talk about cinema and how, from a storytelling and filmmaking perspective, this movie is mediocre at best. So let's start at the beginning and try to understand why this film is so highly revered. It doesn't take a genius to understand why so many people have placed this movie on a cinematic pedestal. It all began with one word: exposure. Despite sharing an opening weekend with Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, Barbie managed to infiltrate our minds through sheer omnipresence. In the months leading up to this film's theatrical release, Barbie was everywhere. A staggering $150 million was poured into the marketing budget for this film, and that's in comparison to its own $145 million production budget. That's right, they spent more money to advertise this film than they did to make it. We're barely into this video, and I think that point is the most important one. In an age where we are all so easily influenced by what we see on our screens, our attention and adoration can be bought with repetition. Everywhere you looked, everywhere you went, and everyone you talked to, Barbie was there. On your morning coffee cup, as the trending topic on social media, in the memes your friends shared, even in casual talks at family dinners. The media saturation was so intense that subconsciously, people began to believe that if everyone's talking about it, then it must be good. I'm gonna go in and watch this amazing movie because everyone's talking about it. But was it actually good? In a film where every scene's purpose is an attempt to deliver a profound message on gender, sexism, and humanity, Barbie falls woefully short. Rather than enlightening, it comes across more as satire. This is likely because they couldn't just choose one or even three things to focus on. No, they wanted to hit you with their intellect and their wit on as many subjects as possible, never going deeper than surface level on any of them. So while this was annoying to me, I held out hope that at least there would be something to the story, something interesting, something adventurous, something exciting. Unfortunately, that hope faded about 20 minutes into the movie as it was painfully clear how things would play out. And over the 2-hour runtime, viewers are never surprised. The story happens just as it's set up to happen, with all focus on the sea of messages they just had to get across, as opposed to creating a decent plotline. But what about the humor? With all this dialogue and wittiness, surely there just had to be a lot of laughs, right? I'll admit, I laughed a couple times, but I expected more, especially after my friend told me it's easily one of the most subtextually intellectual movies I've seen in a long time. I couldn't stop laughing. Andrew, I love you, but what are you talking about? The movie is essentially a string of oversimplified jokes overshooting their mark, prioritizing an elongated gag over genuine character depth or storytelling. And speaking of characters, let's not forget the side characters, brimming with potential, only to be cast aside for scenes that remind me of SNL skits, but not the good ones. Those skits that they put between the good skits that they're just there, they're awkward, they're cringy to watch, but they have to be there because they have to fill out and round out the episode. That for 2 hours. Alan by far was my favorite character, but what did they do with him? What they did with everyone. Underutilized and pushed aside. But here's the real tragedy. A cast this talented deserved a better script. Their performances were restricted by the confines of a plot that was as hollow as the plastic dolls that inspired this film. I love Ryan Gosling, I love Margot Robbie, I love Michael Cera. I don't think the problem with the film had anything to do with the actors or their performances. They were simply unable to save Barbie from subpar writing. It's like taking elite athletes and putting them on a team under an incompetent coach who's just making up their own plays and telling the team to just do the best with what you've got. I know I'm swimming against the current here. Many have dubbed this movie a masterpiece with its intellectual insights and wit, but in its quest for depth, it overlooks the fundamentals of cinema to enchant and entertain audiences. In a post-pandemic world, I fear the bar for cinematic entertainment may have been reset, and audiences were hoodwinked into believing that this film was able to deliver something far beyond what it actually did. Now, look, filmmaking is an art, and it's subjective. Clearly, Barbie is going to resonate with some and has with quite a few people. Again, I think they were probably pre-programmed into liking the movie before they ever entered the theater, but I digress. For those of us who cherish storytelling, character arcs, and genuine depth, it's a stark reminder that Hollywood can miss the mark, and we shouldn't let insane marketing budgets put blinders over our eyes and make us believe that a film is something that it's not. This was Hollywood's rock bottom, at least in a post-pandemic world, and I'm just hopeful that we'll bounce back. If you've seen Barbie, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know down in the comments, and if you haven't seen it yet, maybe keep those expectations in check. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.